the fantasies that men have about like or what a woman brings to the table
It's just fantasy.
and we realize that we don't live in that fantasy land. We fantasize, but we don't live in that land. Whereas I think a lot of women fantasize and live in that fantasy land.
Because Cinderella got it.
And Cinderella is fantasy.
Cinderella fucking got it. Why can't I get it? Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of I Hate Dating Apps. I'm Gina.
And I'm Daniel. And today we're going to talk about, taking a break from the dreaded dating apps we talk about all the time in our episodes. It seems like our show is actually having an impact, Gina.
Oh, yeah?
Dating apps are still like the most predominant way people meet people nowadays, but there's signs that there's a bit of dating app fatigue. So for example, Match Group, which owns Tinder and most of the Hinge and most of the dating apps, just to give you an idea, their stock is one indication, but their stock went down by 75% in value in the last 3 years. Mm-hmm. Tinder reported recently that their paying customers, their paying members have gone down by 8% last year.
And 80 or 8?
8%. But it's been gradual. So every year in recent years, it's been going down. And Tinder downloads, which peaked in 2013, from the peak of 2013, it's down by more than a third. So there are some indications. And you see in the news, like if you follow this, there have been a lot of reports of people not going on dating apps or giving up dating apps. Axios actually did a survey last year of 1,000 college and graduate students, and 79% of them said that they don't use dating apps. So this is the young generation, right? So the younger generation are looking for other ways to, meet people, or perhaps they've just given up. We don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can tell you that I've hit that mark, and so have our guests who are joining us. The topic is sometimes you just need a break. And we have my good friend Bryan joining me. You and I talk about this all the time. And a new friend, Austin, who's also on a break from the apps. If you guys don't mind introducing yourselves, let's start with you, Austin.
Yeah, so I'm Austin Kelly, and I do caregiving work for special needs and autism clients, help them with their resumes, their jobs, and also do other rehabilitation work for them.
And Bryan.
My name is Bryan. I'm a software engineer. I grew up right here in Southern California, and I'm a long-time friend of Gina's, and we've been swapping horror stories for a while now. So
We want to hear all of them.
We have an insider podcast where he and I just go to town and bitch about our experiences. But Bryan, you just started. I mean, you were actually on the apps not too long ago because you were going up and down from the Bay Area, and you're like, Bay Area, new territory. Maybe I'll meet some people. So you downloaded the apps up there, and you were kind of like pleasantly surprised in the beginning, probably because you were fresh meat. All these apps were probably like, fresh meat, let's throw all the ladies at him. And then now, like just a couple months later, you've deleted the apps. Like, tell me what's been going on.
Yeah, it was just a lot of kind of burnout up there. Just spent a lot of hours, swiping and texting, and ultimately only met 2 people, and they were both just kind of disappointing dates. It's not that they weren't physically attractive. It's just what I typically encounter is like we can't latch onto anything like that drives the conversation. Like that's always what I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. Like, can we latch onto something that makes us want to text each other later, and sign up for another date? And that was just missing with both of these.
What?
So. Just a lot of time investment for no return, basically. So I got kind of burned out.
Sounds exhausting.
Oh, man.
It's not like that's the first time. That's the cycle. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Well, okay. And you?
I could bounce off that. It's exhausting, and it just got to the point where, I feel like it's a little different when in my generation, because I'm in my 20s, right? A lot of the girls that I see on Tinder, they're just like doing it for attention. They're not really like trying to look for something serious.
The ones that are in their 20s.
Yes, I see that a lot. Or that they're not looking for something serious, or they're trying to promote their OnlyFans.
Oh,
yes.
no.
And that's why it's like, oh, come on,
But that can't be like, I don't know a lot of people on OnlyFans. That can't be the majority of them.
A lot that I've seen personally. In my 20s.
So the ones that'll match with you, you get excited about, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
they're only promoting their OnlyFans.
Yeah, I'll say, hey, how's it going? Like, trying to start a normal conversation. Then they'll just send a link.
Oh,
yeah.
shit.
Yeah, they'll send a link, and it's like, okay.
Or they're Instagram
Unmatched.
models. Like there's always some kind of hustle.
Yeah.
It is.
I-
Yeah, it's a total hustle.
I do feel like Tinder's like the worst one that you could have picked, though. At least like in this country, Tinder's like the bottom of the barrel. But if you leave the United States, it's still like what everyone's using. It's a very different market outside the U.S. But in this country,
Everybody outside the U.S. is using Tinder.
I think it's the most popular one that I've seen outside the United States. It's still easy to get matches, and here I gave up on Tinder a long time ago.
Yeah.
And for the reasons he's echoing, just very, very low match rate and a lot of fake profiles and just people trying to hustle.
Well, but okay. So, what led you guys to get to the point of, I'm gonna take a break? You know, because it's one thing to be disappointed. It's another thing to go, I am so not even gonna touch it for a while, which is where you guys are, right?
Yeah. I think for me, like the number one factor, I'm sure this comes up all the time on your podcast, is ghosting. But that's become so commonplace that I guess for someone my age who grew up without dating apps, it's still shocking to get ghosted. And I think it shouldn't be anymore. And I think for the younger generation, it's just like part of the process.
Yeah.
But for me, it's still, if you were to get ghosted by somebody like dating apps, it's quite a shocking move. It's really quite extreme. And
you're not that old, so Brian, like,
Yeah,
the
I
fact that
mean,
you
but-
remember a time before ghosting and like,
in my 20s, yeah, we didn't have dating apps back then. Some of that stuff was just starting to come online, and I feel like people were a little bit more respectful. And now it's just like part of the package. It's like to be expected, and I haven't quite adjusted to that personally.
it's just rude.
It's
I don't care if you're used to it. It's just rude when you're like mid conversation on the apps and then they don't respond at all and you have no idea why. Or they unmatch and you have no idea why.
It's like everything else that's happening in our society. We are becoming a ruder society. Like people are less caring about other people's feelings, and so I think the ghosting thing. We looked into this at one point in one of our other episodes, and a primary reason for a lot of people is because they don't see the other person on the line as a person. They're just gaming within the system. So nobody's thinking about, and it's very true of social media too, like the bullying and stuff. People like get so immersed
Because they're
in
behind
the-
a screen.
Right. So they get
They feel
immersed
no
in their own world.
investment.
Right? They
Yeah.
feel no investment, exactly. And so, it also because in dating apps, it's a numbers game, right? So I'm sure a lot of women are like, if your experience is an indication, you're getting so many matches. So you are, considered a person, so you wouldn't ghost. But a lot of women out there are getting like so many matches, and they're literally overwhelmed, and they don't think like,
I don't owe you anything.
Yeah, exactly. They don't think like, oh, this is a consequence, or I'm being rude. It's like, oh, I just don't have the time. Or they'll go and they'll forget because it's too busy. It's too much, right? So it leads to that kind of behavior.
Well, what I've also heard from girlfriends that have deleted the apps or decided, okay, I need a break, is that the day after day rejection is so bad for your mental health. And you know that they're not rejecting you; they're rejecting the app version of you.
The profile.
Yeah, they're rejecting your profile for whatever reason. And nowadays, it's just so arbitrary, right? Like, I don't like her hair, or like I've done things where I'm just like, okay, I don't think I'm gonna get along with this guy because every single photo is from a bathroom selfie. Like, I'm gonna just eliminate you because I cannot stand 6 bathroom selfies. Like, anybody who thinks it's normal to have all 6 photos taken from a bathroom, I'm just not going to get along with. So it becomes as arbitrary as that, but it's still rejection, right? And I know men face it more than women, but a lot of my girlfriends, because we're all going after the 10% of guys that get all the love, we get plenty of rejection too. If we went after the 90% of quote unquote normal guys, right, we wouldn't get rejected so much. But because all the women think that they have a chance with Brad Pitt, we're swiping on those guys and then getting rejected by them. And after just weeks and months of nothing happening, you just feel like, okay, that was like my 13th rejection of the month. I can't do this anymore without my psyche taking some long-term damage. So then they have to leave. But so you said ghosting, but what else is out there that just makes you go, I need to literally just step away?
I would say ghosting is the sharp end of the stick, but there's a lot of other really annoying things that I think we all have to deal with that are not gender specific. For example, like conversations that don't go anywhere. Conversations where the other person just never gets back to you.
Yep.
Or the worst, if you actually plan a date and they don't show up. I mean, that's
I was about to bring that
aggravating.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
That-
what you said, you plan a day, they either don't show up or the day comes and you ask them, hey, are we still on for today? And they don't respond back. So
What do you mean? The date comes?
like the day of
The
the
day
date.
of the date.
And then you confirm like, hey, are you still on for 8 o'clock? And they don't respond.
No.
Yeah. I've experienced that a couple times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I have to say that is a very rare occurrence for me. I mean, everybody knows my Raz story, which is what launched this podcast. I showed up to a date and then the guy ghosted me 10 minutes into the date. I've had that happen.
Wow.
He left.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I got to go to the bathroom.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
cancel
Never come
cancel the
And
order.
canceled my order. Yeah.
Because you didn't want to pay for it.
Yeah. So I actually had the
Wow.
extreme version of that, but I can't say that I had a guy cancel day of.
What was the straw that broke the camel's back though? At what point, like, was there a specific event or a specific date
This
or
last time.
profile that you guys said, that's it. This is the last straw. I don't want to do this anymore.
Not really with me. It wasn't a conscious decision. It was
was
really
just like over
quite
time.
unconscious. Yeah,
Yeah.
just enough frustration, enough wasted time that just stopped. I lost interest.
Same.
Yeah,
I
this
just,
is go ahead.
yeah, I just lost interest in it. I just caught myself swiping just a swipe. And it just was for, almost felt like nothing,
Yeah, when you get to the point where you don't expect anything good is going to come out of this, you got to call it quits. You got to take a break. You're just so cynical.
You guys are both really good looking guys who obviously have the gift of conversation. You seem perfectly normal to me. Like, it's just such a shame. And I feel very sad that you guys have to reach this point when in reality, if I was to meet you guys on the street, I would think, oh, these are like upstanding guys. Have you tried IRL? Or is that what you're doing now?
I've had more success in IRL than through dating apps. I've had hookups in IRL. I was in a long-term relationship for 4 years with someone that I knew since high school. So let's just say I have way more success in IRL than in dating apps for sure. Yeah.
How many dates would you say you're getting, like in the span of a year on the dating apps?
Not a lot, maybe like only 15, 20. So that's not a lot at all.
One a month?
At least one a month. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
That's not bad, but it's a lot of them just don't work out for whatever reason. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. I feel that.
It's been a long time since I've used them with any regularity. Like I said, I used them. I was in the Bay Area for 3 months, and I got two dates out of it with 2 different women. So not a very
What happened to all the other people that you matched with?
like sort of what I described, like conversations that just they don't end up responding to you. They end up ghosting you, which before you even meet them is not such a big deal, but it can still be frustrating, especially if you have a date planned and you're looking forward to it and they just disappear, and it's like, what happened,
And the 2 dates that you did go on while you were in the Bay Area, and I know that this is very recent. That's why we're talking about a very recent experience. You met with them, and then you were just like, "Wow, it's like I'm talking to the wall."
Yeah, just kind of like dull conversation. Didn't really go anywhere. Like I have to find something to latch onto. Like I would say, like if you're passionate about anything at all, regardless of whether I'm interested in it, I want to hear about that.
Yes.
I would encourage my date to like bring that up and talk about it because that's very attractive. Yeah, if you're passionate about anything, or come with an interesting story.
And
like,
how does the conversation go? I mean, I'm sorry, I just can't even
agree with them.
imagine. Like you're just sitting there going, "Oh yeah," like they're just like sitting there.
I totally agree with you. I mean, for me, my experience when I'm on these dates, it's like, give me something that's
That we can
interesting
talk about.
what we can talk about, or what are your hobbies? What do you do? Like, do we have anything in common? And so many of my dates, it's almost the same thing. Like, oh, I like to go clubbing. I like to go to these raves, and I do this and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh,
Wow.
that's not my thing.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
not necessarily a function of the dating apps, right? You're saying like when you meet
When
when you meet them for dating. But I think
Yeah.
I think the issue with dating apps though is it's what this proves that it's already hard, actually, even if there were no dating apps. It's not like, come on, it's not like before dating apps, we were all like, everybody was matching up and everything was like a Nora Ephron, romantic comedy and everybody was finding their true love. Come on,
Yeah.
that wasn't happening before dating apps
Yeah,
either.
well, I mean,
right?
I have something to say about that, but yeah, okay, go ahead.
So it's not like there was a pandemic of true love before.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying they're an exception to the rule. But then the dating apps come along as a potential solution, but they're not designed to solve for that problem. So now you've got the worst of both worlds. You've got dating apps that are not filtering people for what you're looking for necessarily. It's all like a popularity contest, and the people are ghosted because they're being rude. So the system is not set up. And then even in real life was already hard. So instead of making anything better, it's actually made it worse. So you have to toil for months to find 2 dates. And because in real life it's also really hard, those 2 dates end up being, and so now it's like it's all disappointment. Whereas I think before dating apps, you could go and meet people in real life, and yes, you still strike out in most real life dating apps. People will bore you, or you're not the right match, or they don't like you after they meet you. It's still, the percentages are still bad, but at least you're starting from the right premise. At least you're meeting people who you like. Oh, I might be interested in this person. Whereas in the dating apps, it's all just a popularity contest, right?
Yeah, so if I look back to the relationships that I've had in my life, you're absolutely right. My very first boyfriend was somebody that I was a coworker with. And then, you just start flirting at work, and before you know it, you're going out to grab some beer, and then before you know it, it develops into a dating situation. My second boyfriend was an attorney that represented me in a drunk driving case. I was not the drunk driver, let's be clear about that. And then so on and so forth. The third boyfriend was somebody that I met at a party. The fourth boyfriend was somebody that I met at a party. I've only ever had one blind date ever work out to where I actually had a somewhat long-term relationship with this person. Every other blind date I've ever been set up on, horrible. Like horrifying,
Yeah.
because my mom wanted me to meet somebody's son or something.
I think
right?
you just answered why they were so horrible.
Yeah, I know. Like my mom, you said enough. Just stop there. And dating apps are a little bit like your mom setting you up, where you have nothing in common with this person whose face just
I would
popped up.
actually say it's worse. It's like the 180 degree to the other way worse, in that at least your mom had as
My best
misguided,
interest.
as misguided as she was, she had your best interest. The apps don't have your best interest in mind. It's a tool. Their best interest is to make money and extract money out of you and get
Yeah.
engagement, right? So this is the problem: is that finding love is already tough.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always been tough. It's not any tougher today than it was before. But then dating apps, instead of making anything easier, is that they actually make everything harder and more horrible. So it's like a lose-lose proposition.
Yeah. And the reason why I think this topic is very important, to your point, is because it makes it that much harder. It is now also really changing us as a society to be more negative, where ghosting is expected.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not something that should even raise our eyebrows, which 20 years ago, if somebody ghosted you, you'd be like, the motherfucker. Never talking to that asshole again, and now it's just like, oh, I got ghosted again for the 13th time this week, right? And then it's making us feel not good about ourselves, because we're like, wow, I'm a good looking guy. I've got a lot to bring to the table. I'm pretty normal. I know how to carry on a conversation. I have a job. And yet you're still striking out. And then on my end, right? I'm like, well, I think I'm a pretty interesting person. I think I look okay. Like, I have jobs. Like, what's happening with me? And then we're all in our little bubbles, just hating on the apps and hating on ourselves because of the apps. And that's the point that I hit when I delete them or have to take a break from them. And I would say that my girlfriends, when they've told me that they just can't with the apps anymore, is when they've gone out on successive dates and they all just turn out horrible.
Yeah.
So
Makes you lose confidence.
makes you lose so much confidence.
Well, there's no incentive for the dating app companies to match people up quickly. Imagine if they did that. If you just found your match quickly, like, you're not going to pay for an ongoing year-long subscription to these services.
Exactly.
you're going to get matched up in a month and never go back. So there's an incentive for them to string you along. And I'm not saying it's intentional. I'm just saying like it's not in their best interest to match people up well.
Well,
makes
you're not going to
sense.
say it's intentional. I will. It is intentional.
Oh, yeah.
It's absolutely intentional. Hinge says the dating app that is designed to be, deleted. That's marketing speak. It's not like if you look at their financial reports, when you look at what they're doing, behind the scenes, they're not saying it's like, so how many people do we successfully match last month? No, it's like, how many paying customers did we have last month? Because that's how they're judged. I'm not saying these are good or bad. It's just that, it's a business, and businesses are built to make money. And I'm sure people who work there, they do think that they're doing some good because they are facilitating meetings, right? So it's a tool, but that tool, depending on how you use it, it only amplifies things, right? So it's in some ways it's an efficient tool because I can swipe right on 100 women in 5 minutes. How if I had to approach 100 women in real life, how much time would that take, right? So, but at the same time, that also amplifies the rejections. So in real life, I might get rejected once a month. Now I'm getting rejected every 10 minutes. That makes me feel great, So, and so I think that it amplifies all of these things. And unfortunately, because of the way we use it and because of our expectations, it amplifies the worst parts. If we approached it realistically and said, this is how it is, and I'm going to try and use it, and maybe I'm okay with getting one match, but I'm going to get really, really specific about what I'm looking for, men or women, right? We also love efficiency. So like, the lazier part of me, I'm like, I'm not going to read through 100 profiles. I'm just going to swipe right on 100, women with, oh, she looks cute.
Well,
that's
to
how
me,
I'm going to do it. Yeah.
To me, it's like a casino. You see somebody winning the jackpot.
Right.
So you're like, that could be me, So you just keep pulling, you keep pushing, hoping that you also, like that person that you saw win yesterday, will win. But it's at the end of the day a numbers game. So then you're like, I'm out of my $100 that I plan to spend. I'm just going to go upstairs to my hotel room. Yeah. But all of your friends are still hanging out at the casino.
Trying to hit the jackpot.
Yeah, and then one of them hits a jackpot, and then you're like, well, okay, I better go back to the casino. Yeah. To me, the dating apps are a little bit like that. You see some friends, I actually married somebody off of eHarmony. Daniel married somebody off of Match.
Wow.
So we have had successes, and then now, of course, things are just completely different. But I think we're all at the end of the day just hoping to hit the jackpot.
Yeah.
But it's a numbers game.
So you do look at it as a game, pretty much.
I don't right now. I'm not to the point of being that jaded.
Gotcha.
I'm getting there.
Some of my friends will say, "Oh, are you playing Tinder?" They'll ask, "Are you playing Tinder?"
Oh, geez.
That's interesting.
So it's like, so it is a game maybe. Like you're just swiping to see if you hit the jackpot, for example. So
We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors. Our sponsor, Take My Face Off, makes swiping off your makeup just as easy as swiping past a bad profile. Seriously, the MIDI from Take My Face Off is this adorable facial mitt that makes skin cleansing faster, easier, and more thorough than any other method I've tried. I seriously love this product. Next time you're tempted to grab a face wipe, use a MIDI instead. It's just as fast, but it's better for your skin and the planet. Get free shipping with the discount code DATING at takemyfaceoff.com.
I just don't understand. I mean, I know we talked about this in another episode, but I just don't understand why it is just so horrific for men. I meet, guys like
because
this.
women are awful.
Oh, come on.
man.
No, just kidding.
Oh, Daniel's going to get some hate. No.
Comment section, folks. Comment section.
I know, right? Don't leave us any hate.
No, I think. I'm half joking, and men are awful as well.
They
think,
are.
Yeah, they are.
I'm sorry.
But here's where. So this is a dynamic, right? So there are men behaving badly, and there are women behaving badly. And then in general, all the women look at the men behaving badly. It's like, you see how men are. It's like it's classic stereotyping. It's like, so yes, there are men on Tinder who are hooking up with women, and they probably are good looking, but they're totally jerks. The Porsche polygamy, as Galloway says. So the guys who attract a lot of women
Yeah,
are attracting
treat-
these women
treat
and
the
then
women like
treat them
shit.
like shit, and then women are like, oh, man, treat women
Men
like
are
shit.
horrible. Men on the
but
apps are
then again,
horrible.
you're not out there looking for kind and
I
nice men.
am.
No,
I
I'm not
am.
talking to
Oh,
you.
oh,
Jim.
oh,
I was
okay.
actually
All
pointing in
right,
a different
geez.
direction.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't personalize
You're like, I
everything.
am.
Yeah, I'm talking to those women who keep on getting hurt over and over again, going after the same freaking man. It's like, of course, but then it's like, oh, but this guy, he's not. He doesn't have a Porsche. He's not 6'2". He doesn't have a six-pack app, but he's really nice and he's gonna treat you very kindly. Do you want to go out with him? Nah, not really. Well, right? Then,
Well,
then
because women, most of the women I know are very accomplished, right? So they're like, I bring a lot to the table.
Yeah.
The guy's got to bring something to the table.
Right.
But then the guy that kind of fits your type that you would be, physically attracted to, who brings a lot to the table, are few and far in between, and that's the problem.
Right.
That we
And how
have.
do you even know what he has to bring to the table, really,
Ah,
until you
good
get
question.
to know him? I mean,
Yes,
you
Bryan.
can't necessarily tell that.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, like, once you go out on the date,
Once
you're
you
just
go out
kind
on
of
the
like,
date, yeah.
But what you said, though, is exactly what I think dating apps exacerbate. Because even this notion of what your worth is, like, I bring a lot to the table. What are you bringing to the table? What is it exactly that you're bringing to the table, right? And it is like professional accomplishment, money, this and this. Well, that assumes inherently that those are the values that make you a better person. So you could have somebody who is not as accomplished professionally, might not have a big house, might not have a ton of money, but is a person with high integrity, honest, right? But if that's not, like, when you say your friends bring all this to the table, and I say, well, this is what I bring to the table. I have a lot of integrity. I'm an honest person. What kind of car do you drive, Daniel? I drive a Civic, a 1967 Civic. Oh, that you're not bringing anything to the table. Really? I'm not bringing anything to the table? What you're saying is that I'm not bringing the same things and the superficial values that you're bringing to the table.
well,
right?
it's just what that is millennia of evolution, having taught women
Sure, yeah.
that a man is supposed to provide.
exactly.
And even
Yeah.
though we are now our own providers and we don't need a man to
Mm.
provide, we still psychologically have something burned in us that says he cannot drive a 1967 Honda Civic
Exactly.
if I am driving a Tesla.
Correct.
And
Right. So
and
it's
men
about
don't have that burden of needing
No,
a
but
woman
men have a different burden, though, right?
they want the hot.
Right. So
Child.
the same. But although I would say that for
Very.
men, I mean, we don't have a scientific survey to show this, but I would venture to say that on average, most men. So on average, yes, every guy wants a hot Swedish bikini team model. Like, and if you say that you don't, then you're full of shit.
Okay.
Now, it's not settling though. I think most men realize that that's fantasy, right? And they also realize that a Swedish bikini model is nice to look at, maybe it might be nice to play with one night, but it's not somebody that I want to spend the rest of my life with.
Yeah,
right?
that Bryan can't have a conversation
right.
with.
So man, the fantasies that men have about like or what a woman brings to the table
It's just fantasy.
and we realize that we don't live in that fantasy land. We fantasize, but we don't live in that land. Whereas I think a lot of women fantasize and live in that fantasy land.
Because Cinderella got it.
And Cinderella is fantasy.
Cinderella fucking got it. Why can't I get it?
Right, exactly. Yeah, and I think that's where. And I'm not saying that these women are, like morally wrong or anything. I'm just saying. So we've all been conditioned a certain way.
Yes.
And it's
All
hard
the
to break.
fables.
It's hard to break that conditioning, right? So I always sort of lift my eyebrow when people say, like, I bring this to the table. What is it that you bring to the table? And when you actually list those items, that says something about their value. And those
Yeah.
values don't always necessarily connect with the values of what other people are looking for. And that's where the disconnect is.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
because of that disconnect, it makes a hard task already so hard it's already really hard to meet somebody that you're compatible with.
Well, yeah, that's what is happening. Exactly.
Yeah.
So before dating apps, we would go to church. We'd go, that girl looks nice enough. That girl's, got a good family. Or, oh, my coworker, very sweet. I'm going to ask her out, because that's all we had. That's all we were exposed to. And now you're under some false illusion that you have access to the thousands of women that are on these apps. And that's what makes you not go for the heavier set, nerdy, Eddie Bauer wearing woman, right? Because you also are under some sort of illusion that you deserve better.
Well, actually, let's see what I think this would be actually pretty interesting. Bryan, dating apps or not, like what kind of a woman are you looking for? If you're able to like describe her.
Definitely someone that's sharp, someone that's passionate. Those are very attractive qualities.
What size boobs?
Steering him.
No, I'm a serious. What size boobs? Do you care?
Do I care? Yeah, but it's not like a deal breaker.
Okay, it's not a deal
plus,
breaker. Okay, yeah.
There is such a thing as too big, though.
Right.
That's true. Yeah. That's very true.
What else are you looking for in a woman? Does she have to like
Reliable, integrity.
in a scale of 1 to 10?
And guess what? You can't tell any of those things except the boob size from the
Right.
pictures.
And in a scale of 1 to 10, as people grade people's looks, does she have to be more than a 5? Do you have a ceiling? Do you have a top? Or do you not even, or none of the above? Like I don't grade women on their looks.
It's one of many factors. Yeah.
Yeah.
It also
He didn't
depends. It
mention
depends
looks
whether
at all,
it
though.
depends whether you're just trying to hook up for the weekend or you're looking for a partner too.
But no, on the partner level. So you're looking for those intangible qualities. Do you care like what kind of work she does? Is it okay if she's a teacher or a janitor?
It's one factor that matters, yeah, but it wouldn't be a deal breaker. Like if I met like my perfect woman, but she's got like a crappy job, like I would still be happy to take her.
How about you, Austin?
I would probably echo almost everything that he said. And I'm not necessarily looking strictly for looks. If I get to know them, personality is huge. Like I'm more attracted to personality over looks. Like it would be like 51% personality, probably 49% looks. So
I would venture to say that your average guy out there who are looking for a woman are like Austin and Bryan.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
I'm looking for somebody decent. It's not a deal breaker if she doesn't have the best boobs in the world. It's not a deal. I swear to God, most women, when you ask nowadays, your average woman, and I don't know if it's sort of the influence of the times, but they have very hard lines.
I know. It's
if
true.
he drives a 1967 Civic, don't even bother. It's like, what, really? That's a
No, the
deal breaker?
height- the height
yeah, if
is
he's not more than 6'2",
weird.
or if you have a job that is not something that is worthy of boasting, then no, right? It's like so, and those are all hard. So if you ask women, those are all deal breakers. Whereas you heard them, they're like none. Like this is the way a lot of guys approach it. It's like nothing is a deal breaker. I'm looking for a complete woman. It's a factor of number of things. She might not be the most attractive woman, but if I fall in love with her, she is going to be the most attractive woman in the world, right? I heard this female comedian say, some guys don't know where to end their sentence. Like I was going out with this guy, and he says, "You're the most beautiful woman in the world, to me." Right? But you are the most beautiful woman in the world to me. And you are, because like now I see the totality of you,
Right.
So, but you're not gonna get there if you have a ton of deal breakers. And I feel like, generally speaking, when you talk to, women who are looking for a mate, for a partner, they have so many deal breakers. Like he can't be this, he can't be that, he cannot take bathroom selfies.
Well, that's
No, I'm
like
just kidding.
all
I'm
She
six
said
of
like
them.
6 of them.
Yeah, all
I would
six.
defend her.
I've literally had profiles where all six of them are in a
That's a
bathroom.
deal breaker, right?
And I'm
but,
like, no.
Just generally speaking, I'm saying it's the opening up to the possibilities versus having really hard sort of parameters.
It's true that women have a lot of kind of like, we don't even let them into the front gate,
right.
let alone let them in through the door.
Right.
Whereas men are kind of like, no, come on in. Let me just have a chat with you. I do feel like men are a little bit more open to assessing like the compatibility without too many like lists of things that they have to check off.
Right.
I do agree with that. Having said that, the 10% of men who get just about everybody, because they have whatever the outwardly appearance of success and good looking and, all the things that women traditionally look for, end up being like women in that sense, right? They're like, nope, don't come in through the gate because I've got too many women coming through my gate. And now I'm looking for the creme de la creme. So I would say that the men at the top of the game are very much becoming like the women in that they become hyper selective, and women are already there
for different reasons, though. I think women get very hyper selective about the partner that they want to have, whereas the top of the game men get very selective about who they want to fuck that night.
I mean, not everybody.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the game, right? When you talk about game, that's the game. The game is the guys at the top of the pile, because they know they can manipulate women into thinking that they're going to fall in love with them, because that's what most women want. Most women want long-term relationship.
Right.
And most men do as well. But because men get very tempted,
Right,
and sideways,
they're like, well, I got
like,
100 ladies.
yeah,
I can.
the evolved man, the evolved human being wants to connect with other human beings and have a long-term relationship. But the animal, the monkeys in us, are very easily distracted. And if a monkey has 1,000 bananas he can eat, he will pick the most ripe banana, right?
Yep.
Or some will actually, some monkeys will just eat every banana, like they'll just go for them as many as they can. They're not very selective about the bananas they eat.
No
okay?
boundaries, huh?
Yeah. So I think that's the disconnect. And I think also women in modern age, because of Cinderella, and it's very romantic. I remember this episode of Ted Lasso, where the British actress, the tall actress, she's going on a date. And it was a beautiful scene, really well written. But she goes on a date, she comes back, she's talking to her best friend and her boyfriend, who's another character, like he's the gruffy guy in the soccer team. And she tells them, say, oh, he was okay, he's nice. And then he's just gruff. So what? Is there a problem with it? He goes, you should not settle for nice. You should be with a man who worships you every day. And then his girlfriend is looking at him like with his doughy eyes. Oh my God, he's the best man in the world, right? Very romantic.
Yeah.
But what kind of mindset, and I'm not saying that that's not romantic, but what kind of mindset when you brainwash women over and over again that everybody needs to be treated like a queen.
Yep. Everybody needs to be a prince.
So then anything else is settling.
Yep.
And it's not settling going for somebody as a whole. To say that, you don't have to be a 10, that's not a deal breaker. That's not settling. That doesn't mean it's like, oh, I'm settling for a 9 because I am not good enough to get a 10. No, Bryan is saying, it's like, I'm looking at the whole person. This is how I go about deciding who I want to be with. Whereas women have been conditioned, generally speaking. I'm not saying about these individuals.
Yep.
It's like through media, it's like all these stories, like, no. And that's why you've got women like who are like just completely out of this world. It's like, no, he has to make $500,000 a year, has to drive this, has to be 6'2", have a 6 foot. Who's got time to do all that?
Well, the 10%.
Right, exactly.
Well, so I always love kind of going back to potential solutions. I want to offer our listeners something to kind of maybe like, okay, so how do we solve this? When do you decide to go back? Because obviously people are going to continue to do the slot machines downstairs in the casino. When do you decide to go back? Because, there's only so much IRL you could do before you also give up on that venture. Where is your mindset right now?
She's like, ding, 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 ding. It's calling you.
Yeah, I know. You're like, oh, I hear it.
Curiosity. I mean, it's just, is there more out there besides
FOMO?
IRL? Exactly. So curiosity, maybe this time will work out better than the past times. It's just maybe just don't give up.
How close are you to maybe kind of going back on?
Long pause.
Don't do it.
Kind of close. I mean, I have Tinder downloaded, but I haven't been on it in a while.
Yeah.
So I think soon, if I really feel the need to just check to see what's out there, I will. Yeah.
I'd say Tinder. That's not maybe where you're gonna. Most women I know are not on Tinder.
Maybe Hinge.
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 Probably
Probably
better.
anything else you'd have.
Bumble.
better
Yeah,
luck.
anything.
Yeah.
But
Well, Tinder's the app where I usually get the most. Oh, subscribe to my OnlyFans. So maybe
Oh,
I
yeah,
should
yeah,
avoid
yeah.
that as much as
Yep,
possible.
yep. Tinder's also where it's the only app where I've gotten male profiles strictly from the neck down.
I will say I
Like
have zero.
naked.
I have zero mirror selfies. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank
or you
you.
could subscribe to the OnlyFans and try and reach out to her.
You're like,
She's just in it for the money at that point, right?
well, you're like, girl, but you got to have a boyfriend at some point.
Try to change them,
Yeah. What about
That,
you,
that
Bryan?
usually doesn't work.
As you know, I just moved back to LA, so I might dip my toe in again at some point because I've been away for a while and I'm living in a new part of town too. So I've never tried it in my current area. But I'm a poker player, and I go through the same thing with poker. Like inevitably, you have a run, you might win some, and then eventually you lose, you crash, you lose all your money, or all the money that you're willing to lose. And then you get like bitter and burnt out and resentful. And that's when you got to stop, because as a poker player, if you keep going at that point, you're going to lose even more.
Yep.
And you have to know when to pull the plug. And I typically will plug back in when there's been enough time that I forgot about how bitter that loss was. And I'm like not so sensitive anymore, and not so cynical. And that's when I'll jump in again. And then the cycle repeats.
Well, may that be soon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
May
hopefully it
that-
doesn't keep on repeating, right? Because again, it to a certain extent, it is a numbers game, right? So whether it's dating apps or in the real world, if you're out there meeting and trying and keep trying, like it's a statistical certainty. At some point, like it might take you 50 years. Hopefully not.
No, don't say that.
No, but what I'm saying is, it's at the end of the day, it's like that's what they say, like do the reps, right? And then you'll get there, So that's why people end up going back to dating apps sooner or later, is because hope springs eternal.
I have hope for both of you.
Yeah.
I have hope for both of you. You're young and
Well, thank you.
yeah,
Fingers
but
crossed.
then IRL at the same time, maybe just to cover your bases.
Yeah,
I think so.
I agree.
Keep you sane.
That too, right?
That is
Just
true.
Human connection, human interaction. You need that every once in a while.
Yeah.
That's where it's at. I'm a firm believer. I mean, I think dating apps are a tool, but I think the more you put yourself out there and meet people, that's why. And actually, it's ironically there's technology. There are apps now trying to solve for that. So there are dating apps where there are
They
no
push
pictures.
you IRL.
Yeah.
Oh.
There are no pictures actually.
Oh.
Yeah. So there's a dating app. I don't know how successful it is, because then again, we get the society we deserve, right? So if we're a bunch of vapid, superficial dickheads, as we often happen to be, then dating apps will prevail. But if we go for the better, version of ourselves, then maybe an app like that would have more success. But there are also things like dinner with strangers now. I saw that so it's not a dating app, but it's like, again, we talked about this. It's like it's a maxim in life. It's like sometimes you have to try less hard for something to happen. So sometimes you're trying too hard, or if you're like, they say women can smell desperation, right? So if you seem desperate, like that's a turnoff, obviously. So don't try so hard. Just go and meet people, and then romance and romantic, connections will happen. So there are a lot of opportunities to do that, and that's like the old tried and true. Like go out, meet people, join a poker club, hopefully with
Well, that's
some
all
women.
going to be men, though.
Yeah.
There are some women in
Yeah,
poker.
you don't
and
want to
I-
date a woman who plays poker all the time, maybe.
Well, some of them are like, I mean.
What
some of
poker
the-
clubs do you hang out at?
Like in professional poker, like when you watch professional poker, some of you probably know this, Bryan. Like Maria Ho, like a lot of the professional pokers are really hot.
Yeah,
So-
actually, if I was a woman, I'd be playing poker, because I can't tell you how many times I've seen guys subconsciously dumping their chips to the hot woman at the table, like
Right.
not even realizing that's what they're doing.
Yes.
They're like losing to her because they want her
Oh,
attention.
that's why.
And you could totally use that against a lot of
That's
men.
interesting.
Yeah.
for a
Oh, that's
woman.
why they're so hot.
Shit, I got to learn how to play
I
poker.
I thought it was just like a statistical anomaly. Like every time I watch like poker on TV, professional poker, the female professional pokers are really attractive.
Because
It's
they
like
get all the
that.
chips.
Yeah.
Damn.
Wow.
Ooh, you just gave me a tip there. You just gave me a pro tip.
There you go.
There you go.
I'll
Might
be
be
a
a
manager.
dating tip
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
It's like
You get-
90% men at the table.
Yeah,
so
you
there
get you get all the eyes, right? Because it's all 98% men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get
And you get the chips.
Damn.
That's a winner.
On that note. Well, thank you so much for joining us, guys.
Thank you.
Sorry it's so hard, but I have a feeling
We'll
it'll
keep
turn for
trying,
you.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's all you
Thanks
can
for having
do.
us.
Me too, right? In the same race.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us for another episode of I Hate Dating Apps. You can't love with them.
And you can't love without them, apparently.
Until next time. Bye-bye.
I hate dating apps.
Hey, app daters and haters, tell us your dating app experience, and we just might bring you on as a guest for future episodes. Head to IHateDatingApps.com and click on the big yellow Tell Us Your Story button. You can't miss it. We've got a lot of fun content on our social channels, so please follow us at I Hate Dating Apps on Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. And on Instagram, we're at I Hate Dating Apps Pod. And don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast.